Chelsea Green versus Giulia. And I think that people are not giving enough credit to Chelsea Green for that. Um, they people were passing around the peak viewership and crediting Giulia for it. And obviously, yeah, she's a draw. So like people wanted to see. So I'm not saying that that's not true, but in regards to their match, I think that people are overlooking the significance of them choosing Chelsea Green of all people to be her first opponent and how good Chelsea was in the match. Like we've talked a lot about how people have a hard time looking past unserious gimmicks and thinking that that somehow defines how good of a performer somebody is in the ring. And Chelsea falls in that category more often than not with people because it's like, oh, she's just a Karen, she wants to talk to the manager, she's just like funny and blah blah blah, and then like she's not able to do a ton of stuff in the ring, and then somehow that equates to her not being a good wrestler. And it's like, that's not the case at
Not
all.
at
It's
all.
just she's
Yeah.
fitting a role and she's playing it perfectly. And although she's still doing that, this was an opportunity for people to see, like, no, Chelsea can turn it on when she's given the opportunity to. And I think that she did that with Giulia. I mean, like, I think people need to remember that Roxanne has been being groomed to be Giulia's first like
Oh,
feud,
easily. Yeah,
and
easily.
she had to have like special training to prepare for how Giulia wrestles. The fact that Chelsea didn't have that, and they were like, no, we trust you and we think that you're going to do a great job against her, like that's pretty cool. And I feel like Chelsea deserves to be applauded for that instead of like people just focusing on,
On Julia, the main
Giulia,
target,
then that's
the
it.
main attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Chelsea Green, one thing people fail to realize sometimes in wrestling is that it takes two to tango.
Mhm.
It is a dance in the grand scheme of things. And as great as it is for someone to be dominant in the ring, you also need someone who can sell the shit out of moves and can take moves so that it looks way more brutal than what it is. Chelsea Green knows all of that because she's experienced. She's well traveled in the Wrestleverse, going to every promotion from Lucha Underground, Impact TNA, whatever you want to call it. And someone fact check me on this, but my gut is telling me that she's wrestled in Japan.
Mhm.
So when you have someone on your roster with that much experience and is so open to just playing a role, there's no ego of I need to be champion. It's how can I do my character the best of my ability to not only make me look great, but also the person that I'm doing this dance with. She is the best example for that. And, I wish that she would get the more obvious recognition. And by that, I mean like more TV time or competing in the title picture of some sorts.
Mhm.
Give her that recognition because when you listen to her in interviews, she's so not she's so selfless. That's what I'm looking for. She's so selfless when it comes to just booking and whatnot. Like she gets that it doesn't matter if she's holding the championship at the end of the match or if she's throwing a hissy Karen fit as I bounce up and down here, and going ballistic. It's about getting the reaction out of the fan, and she knows that better than anybody. Couldn't have had a better opponent for Julia's first match, debut match. Wow.
Yeah, and people don't recognize these like people in this position like Chelsea because people always just want to talk about the accolades and the championship and if you're in the main event and whatever, and that somehow defines how good somebody is, and that's not true because there are levels in wrestling. There are main eventers, there are mid-carders, there are even the people that are putting on the, the dark matches before a show begins. Like, everybody has a role and it all matters. And it's unfortunately seeming to become like a little bit less common for people to not be in business for themselves. And like, obviously you do have to have that to an extent, because otherwise people wouldn't be in certain.
You walk over. You get walked over.
Cody Rhodes is like the biggest one of them all, right? He went into business for himself, but rightfully so. But when you are in a huge company like this, it's like it takes everybody. It's like a collaborative effort to be putting on a good show every single night. And so, Chelsea might not be where she wants to be necessarily. Maybe she wants to be the women's champion like right now, but she doesn't have a sneaky attitude about it. She's taking the opportunities that she's given and thriving and like stealing the show. And this just encapsulated that, I feel. So hats off to Chelsea.
Hats off.